Hi, everybody. I'm Dave,
And I'm John.
and this is Coffee and Capes, our
Did you
podcast
forget
about
who we were?
no, no, I sort
For
of
like half a second. Sorry to interrupt. You looked off to the side like, I don't know who we are.
wait. What do we do again? How do we do this? It's been so long. We're back, everybody. We're
I know it's
back.
been a hot
Coffee and
minute.
Capes is back. We're so
That's
glad
right.
that you are with us. We've been a little lax, but hey, this is our podcast about two of our favorite things: drinking coffee and talking about geek culture. And
Mm-hmm.
we specialize in comic books and comic book type movies, but that's not all we like. We like all kinds of things, and we like talking about lots of stuff regarding geek culture. And we're so glad you're back. We're so glad to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Um, just life has gotten in the way. We've had some travel stuff and some other things and business stuff. So if you've missed us, thank you for
If you
missing
haven't
us.
missed us, I mean, I don't know why you're here then.
Yeah. Well, but if you're here, we're glad you're here.
We are glad you're here. Yes, we are glad. We're sorry, Kevin Costner. We know we're your favorite podcast. Um, we just couldn't make it happen. But we appreciate the phone calls and the emails, Kevin.
Oh, all of them. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, you've
We
found us
should put a
in some
disclaimer up here in like
that,
type
yes,
that scrolls. Kevin Costner has never called
or
or emailed
emailed,
us about
or
enjoying our podcast.
as far as we know,
No,
he
no,
could be
we have
using a
access to
pseudonym.
all the.
He could be using a
That's
pseudonym.
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well, but
Our professed adoration of Kevin Costner and due to Yellowstone and some of the other things he's done, not for Waterworld.
I mean, speaking of Waterworld, we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But you found us some way or another. John, remind people of all the ways they can find us and connect with us.
Yeah, so if you're watching us, you found us on YouTube. Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
YouTubers.
Uh, You're also, if you're listening to us, you're probably on like Spotify, iTunes, however you consume your podcasty goodness. And then if you can follow us on social, we're on Instagram, coffee underscore the letter N underscore the word capes. We do have a comic book selling page on there too, coffee dot the letter N dot capes. So follow both. You get different content on both. We have a Facebook page, Coffee and Capes, just no dashes or anything in there. There's also a Facebook group you can request to be part of that we have going there as well. We're on TikTok sporadically, randomly, and then Twitter. And then you can email us, right? You can email us at supers at coffee, the letter N, the word capes.com. And then our website is the same thing, coffee, the letter N, the word capes.com. And there you can find all kinds of cool stuff. Coffee, obviously, comic books, obviously. We're going to add a few other cool items in there. We have a Valentine's Day special going on right now through Valentine's Day on the site. You can go there and buy any bag of coffee and get a shop exclusive. So comics that are exclusive to us at half price. So we'll put the like code for that and like the little type underneath of wherever we
Show notes.
post this. Show notes. There you go. Show notes. So yeah, and sign up for the newsletter. You know, we do send out things like specials, different information. Dave kindly writes a weekly top 5 where he reviews his suggested top 5 comics. It's always worth reading. He has semi-good taste in terms of those. He's got better taste than Friends, but he's got all right taste.
For sure. For
So
sure. You know,
that's all the
your
places
mileage
you
may
can find
vary.
us, gang.
Yes. Excellent. Just to clarify, in case you're unfamiliar with the whole shop exclusive thing, it's a cover. John said that it's a comic you can only get in place, but it's going to be a comic that you can get placed, but a cover that the shop exclusive refers to the cover that's only available in that cover from us.
Yep.
Most people probably know that, but just in case,
I'm sure.
we're trying to
That's
be,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
just trying to be welcoming to wherever you're at in your consumption of those sorts of things.
Consume more.
We are in favor of that. It's true.
Yeah, catch up.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. It's been a while, so it's good to be back. We're in, we had a couple of different ideas about what we could do this time. But it's a little late now to go back and review things we missed in 2022 and a month plus later, nobody really needs our full-length review of Avatar: The Way of Water.
But you believe that thing's made $2 billion, more than $2 billion. Bonkers.
I kind of can't understand it.
And bonkers.
I
I mean,
we
missed all kinds of stuff that we haven't reviewed, and that's okay. That's all right. There's lots of stuff that's happened in kind of geek culture land, but I think we're here to talk about movie stuff, Dave.
Let's talk about movies. Do you like movies, John? I like movies.
I love movies. I absolutely love movies. I have a degree in writing for film. That's how much I love movies. I spent a lot of money to get that degree. It also includes writing for comics and writing for video games. It was a cool, educational experience.
Like an amazing course load,
right? I think I mentioned this before to you in conversation. I had a professor who had a PhD in comic books.
You have said that. That's bananas.
So cool. It's such a cool professor and really cool to talk to. But yeah, so my love for movies is well documented, despite my amazing wife's distaste for my love for movies. She'd rather watch shows that are a half an hour, 45 minutes than a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. My wife tends to be the same way.
We have differing tastes in movies anyway.
Part of what makes it fun and interesting.
But Dave, what specifically we're going to talk about in regards to movies today?
Well, I'm guessing, friends, that you have by now heard the announcement that AMC is going to start offering tiered pricing. That if you want to sit in the best seats, aka for most people, the middle of the middle, like the middle seats of a row and an aisle, you're going to have to pay more.
A-holes.
Can confirm. Yeah, that does. It's kind of a jerk move.
Yeah. So this made the rounds on social, obviously, this week with the announcement happening, and I'll give you my take on it. As you know, I do marketing for a living.
I've heard that, yes.
And one of the things that we always talk about is, and I'm very big on, is the customer experience, and are we providing the value necessary to really stand out and gain customer trust and loyalty and everything else. This move by AMC just was blatant in its cash grabbiness, right?
Yeah,
and its desperate attempt to recoup. So we all know, right? We all know that movie theaters suffered through the pandemic.
For sure.
Right. There were some that didn't make it.
Correct.
Right. Others that are now selling off to other places and swapping hands. And what happened was the entertainment industry wisely said, well, we'll just release stuff on HBO or Disney Plus or something like that.
Yeah.
So we got first run movies that were released on some of these streaming services. And it was oh, well, I kind of like watching these at home. Mm-hmm. Right. Or you could buy them first run through a service like Vudu. So there's a bunch of different ways that could go.
Sure.
Since the pandemic ended, it has also become apparent that people aren't going back to the movie theater quite in mass like they used to.
Correct. Yeah.
And some of that is definitely due to being able to watch it from home, right?
For sure.
The other part of that has got to be the fact that some people are just financially not back to where they want to be, right?
True.
And
Yeah.
movies aren't cheap to go to.
No, they really aren't. And, some people just are still not comfortable going back into a big crowd. And so
Sure.
that's going to keep some folks away too. But yeah, you're right that we know the pandemic has affected everybody, and for a lot of folks negatively impact their finances.
Mhm.
And it just part of what bothers me about this from AMC is it kind of felt like we were beginning to creep back. Now, I don't know what AMC's actual finances are. I don't know what their profit and loss, blah, 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 whatever they're,
Right.
I don't know what their situation truly is. But, it was a decent year for films. People certainly came back. We talked about this when we reviewed Top Gun Maverick. Like, we were in a literally full theater.
Mm-hmm.
So people will come back for some movies,
Yes.
for kind of big event type movies.
100%.
And yeah. And it just feels like this is AMC, like, oh, we're 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way up that mountain to get back to something resembling what we used to have, if such a thing is
Right.
possible. And we're just gonna like cut you off at the knees here. We're just gonna add a barrier. We're gonna add a summit here that's difficult to climb before you can actually even get to the full true summit.
Yeah. So this is along the lines of like the Ticketmaster issue.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Right. So Ticketmaster has been an issue for decades.
Yes.
Pearl Jam brought it up, a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
For
Right.
some reason, Taylor Swift was the catalyst for it to have people running to Congress and their senators and complaining then.
Yeah.
But the reality is like that's a monopoly. Ticketmaster pretty much owns live entertainment like that,
Yeah.
whether it's sporting events, music, comedy, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they have for a long time, right, made it so that the best seats in the house, you're gonna pay through the nose for.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And it's it's really reached kind of this point where it's ridiculous how much tickets go up year after year after year too. And part of that is on, there's a number of different things. If you ever look at like how much artists actually make off of tours compared to what Ticketmaster charges people, there's a pretty significant disparity in there.
I believe it.
But now what we see is AMC like attempting to adopt something similar with the idea that this is going to make up the revenue, to your point, right, that they're missing from the people not coming back in quite full force to watch movies.
Yeah.
However, what I feel like the higher ups at AMC are missing on this one is the willingness of moviegoers to pay that extra money, or the decision to just go, I'll wait for it until it gets home.
Yeah. Right.
I can wait until Black Adam hits HBO Max. I can wait that little extra time, and then I'm only paying for the streaming service. Right.
Right. And you get all the advantages that you hinted at before. And actually, my wife and I had this conversation last night. She's like, there's something to be said for it. We can pause it when we need to.
Sure.
If something comes up, if we need a restroom break, we can eat our own snacks that don't cost 18 times what they should.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing, right? Is like you're looking at the cost for consumable goods. So consumable goods being soda, popcorn, everything else. I don't know the last time that you bought a soda at the grocery store or popcorn kernels at the grocery store, but you know what it didn't cost?
$30.
$30 for a bucket of popcorn,
Yeah.
and a soda and a thing of candy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the profit margin on those things is through the roof.
For sure.
I mean, through the roof. It's bonkers. Like, you can make a bucket of that popcorn and I love movie theater popcorn. Let's just throw it out there.
Yeah.
I love the movie experience overall. I like the popcorn because it tastes fantastic. I'll get the soda. That's like the only time I buy like dark soda, like, and I always get like cherry Coke or cherry Pepsi.
Yeah.
And I'm like a little kid. I'm like, you know, and then maybe some candy like peanut M&Ms or you know,
Yeah.
Skittles.
You got to get your protein in there. You got to have some.
Gotta get your protein, right? You got to get your protein. And I sit down and I'm content.
Yeah.
But if you look at like, and that, to your point, you're talking like $20.
Oh,
maybe
easily.
more,
I
right?
think more.
$25 for
Yeah.
3 items.
Yeah.
I can make that bucket of popcorn at home with 5 scoops of kernels from a bag that costs me like $3.99.
Yeah.
I can buy the soda for like $3.
You can probably buy a 6-pack for at least a 6-pack for what you're paying for.
100%.
Yeah,
and that bag of
if not a
candy is
case.
nowhere near $7.
Right.
Right. So you're not hurting on that margin. And really, when was the last time you saw some weirdo sitting in the movie theater without snacks?
Well, I mean, I've been that weirdo. I tend to.
We can never go to movie theaters.
Right.
But you know, it's very rare.
Right. Yeah,
it's
it is
extremely rare. I've done it, like, we've done it, I think, early morning. I think we've gone to a movie at like 11 o'clock in the morning and had breakfast before, and it just didn't make sense to get like popcorn half an hour later.
Right.
But outside of that, I mean, if you go to a movie at a normal time, you're like, I get my popcorn, I'm gonna get my soda, and I'm gonna sit there and mom,
Yeah.
and be super happy. But it's, you calculate the number of people sitting in that movie theater with $25 worth of snacks per person.
Yeah. And let's be conservative and say, let's say 75% of people that come to the movies are going to get some snacks.
Yeah, 75% of people. And let's say conservatively, you only have like 100 people in the movie theater.
Yeah, I think that might be high, but I don't know.
Depends on the movie. Think about Maverick.
Yeah, it depends on the movie. It depends on the theater. I mean, I've been in plenty of showings where it's a dozen people.
Yeah, and you know, they've done remodels in movie theaters, like what you see behind you there.
Right.
You know,
and I love that some innovations, like I want the comfy chair, you know, and the chair that reclines, and the chair that's and the assigned seating, you know, that you pick out your seat beforehand.
all this stuff is great. Like,
Totally enhance the movie experience, where you're not like, oh, I have to be there a half hour beforehand just to like get in line to try to get a good seat.
That's when you add a little bit to the cost of the experience.
Sure.
Because the value that you're providing outside of that is enormous.
Yeah, 100%.
I will pay an extra $2 to not stand outside for 30 minutes or have to get there an hour before in the hopes of getting a seat that I want.
Yeah.
Where I'm not staring at a screen like this.
Right.
That's I've done that. Like,
sure.
Specifically, we used to go to Hollywood Palms all the time because they were the only ones that had that assigned seating that was close to us.
Yeah.
And it cost more, but because we got assigned seating and they gave us service in the chair.
Yeah.
They brought us our snacks in the chair. Service in the chair sounded like it could be weird, so I'm just going to backtrack for a second. Say they brought us our snacks in the chair.
Food service.
Food service, yeah.
Yeah.
Food service in the chair.
To the chair. Not really in the chair, to the chair.
Yeah, to the chair. Like that made that whole experience, like, I'm willing to pay more for that.
Yeah.
But if you're saying nothing changes about this service, all we're doing is we're going to up the price of the most popular seats in the movie theater, is it worth it anymore?
Yeah.
And I know it's only AMC doing this right now.
Right, but you got to figure if they stick with it, everybody else will start doing it too.
If it provides the returns, that's the key, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's going to be based on, and I'd love to sit in that room when they were making these decisions, right? Where they're like, okay, we're gonna do this. And he's like,
Well, and you brought it up before, like with the Ticketmaster thing. And it made me think about, any sort of theater experience, whether like musical theater or plays or whatever, like, or concerts. We're used to the pricing changing depending on where you're sitting.
sure.
But almost always those venues are much bigger
Yeah. Oh yeah,
than
they're
than
huge.
a singular movie theater.
Yeah. It's like going to see. So I went and saw Metallica at Soldier Field,
Okay.
and it was epic, like bucket list thing, right?
Yeah.
And we were way up on the sides, like way up to the point where you're like, I have a
Yeah.
little vertigo being up here.
Yeah.
But it was still epic. It was still great show, right? But did those seats cost as much as the people that were on the floor, like 100 feet away from Metallica? Hell no.
Right.
And rightfully so.
Right.
Like that's a vast difference. But we're talking about a movie theater where me sitting in the middle
Yeah.
or the back or a little bit closer to the front doesn't make a bit of difference.
Imagine how this could have gone if they went the other way. Like just from a marketing standpoint. So right now, as a marketing person, wouldn't you be like, I would want to I would, what do you call it? I would counter program sort of. What's the marketing version of counter programming?
You're
Oh,
right.
hey, AMC's doing this. Look at us. We're keeping it the same. We're not gouging you that way. Like I would absolutely market against them in that way.
Yeah, I
But
would so from a marketing standpoint, if I was looking at this and I was a competitor,
yeah,
right? And I was competing with AMC, I would take a look at, how stable we are without doing that.
yeah.
How comfortable are we? What does our margin look like? And then I would go a step farther and I would reduce the pricing of the front row.
That's exactly what I was going to say a second ago. Yeah. Like imagine
Yeah.
how much different the press would be if they
Yeah.
said, "Hey, we understand like those
Yeah.
first couple rows
We're
aren't
gonna we're
nearly
gonna
as."
reduce the pricing of the front row,
Yes.
or
Yes.
or we're gonna pull the front row completely out of all of our theaters because we find that that's the like least enjoyable spot for somebody to sit,
Mm,
right? And we're just keeping pricing the same. We're just gonna pull that out because we think, that's not as comfortable. Or you go
yeah.
to the drawing board and you find a way to make everything even more enjoyable. You want to do so you want to raise the price of like the best seats in the house. Okay, then offer in-seat service,
Mm,
right? You want to
yeah.
sit in the first like few rows. You get these comfy chairs like you see behind you. Those look pretty epic,
Yeah.
right? But then you say, okay, those are normal price. There's a row or two behind that get in-seat service. Those cost more because you get in-seat service, right?
So, yeah. Yeah. So as you
But
said,
just to
no,
say
no, no.
flat out that, these are the more popular seats, so we're going to charge for them.
Yeah.
It's so dumb and
It's really
makes them a
gross.
target.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Even if they had said, okay, well, we're going to increase these couple of middle seats, but we're going to decrease. Like if they paired it with it, we're going to
Sure.
decrease the price of the seats in the front.
I still wouldn't roll that way.
I don't like it, but at least there's something there. But I'm
Yeah,
sure from
I
their
would.
point, they'd be like, well, that cancels out. So why even do it?
Right. That's exactly right. Right. They're not going to do that because they're clearly looking for ways to like just squeeze a little bit more money out of the
Yeah.
experience for people without giving them anything in return. So
Right.
yeah, if I'm Regal or an independent like movie theater chain
Yeah.
that's got a dozen or so, I'm going to go to my team and think, look, our margin on popcorn and everything else is insane. This is really where we make our money.
Yeah.
And so and if you've ever studied like the economics of movie theaters, a lot of them will say we really make our profit margin off of snacks because of how high they're priced versus how low of a cost it is to the movie theater.
Yeah.
The seats themselves, like the movie itself, is expensive for them to get hold of.
Yeah.
So they're making their profit off of snacks, and they look at it and they say, okay, we're going to make our profit off of these snacks, right? So how many seats do we have in the movie theater? What are the least popular seats that we have? The ones that never get full. It's your front row, maybe your front 2 rows,
Yeah,
right? Because they're
depending on
uncomfortable.
right.
Okay, well, let's drop those by $1 or $2. And that way, somebody who maybe was thinking, I'll wait till the next showing because it's all like front row seats left, will
Yeah,
go, you know what? It's okay. I'll save a couple bucks and I'll just go and sit in the front row. And
right.
then those front rows fill up. And now you've solved the problem of the empty theater, right? Because it's not the middle rows. It's not the back row. It's not those rows that end up being empty. It's the front rows that end up being empty. So
Sure.
don't raise the price of the ones that are, drop the price of the ones that aren't to make them more attractive to customers who are already feeling like that pinch, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Before a few minutes ago, you were describing the idea of like sort of tiered pricing based on what you get. And there was a theater, it reminds me, there was a theater in our area that did that for a while.
Mhm.
It was one in Bolingbrook, and I can't remember what it was called, but
Yes.
it had the super nice seats, pretty
Yeah.
spread out, like in a particular row, and those you got like the full in
Yeah, I've
theater
been there.
service, and then like up as you went to, I think actually seats more toward the back were more
Yes.
like, and they were still nice seats, but you like nobody came to your, no server came to your seat to get you food. There was food available like in a lobby kind of thing, you can bring it in, but
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, and I've been to that theater. I know the one you're talking about, and I've sat in the like service row,
yeah,
and the seats are way more comfortable.
yeah.
And they come out, and if you ordered, I remember ordering Skittles, and they brought them out in like a martini glass
Oh
holder,
wow. Okay.
already like poured out, which I
Yeah.
thought was pretty cool. So it was like a pretty decent extra cost for those seats.
Yeah.
And you didn't do it all the time, but when you did, you got what you were paying for,
Sure.
right?
Now
The
that theater
value of
didn't
that,
last, or at least that
I don't know,
uh
I haven't been back in years.
I know, yeah, me either. Like, and that's probably part of the problem. But I mean,
Right,
there was a
yeah.
whole other thing going on there. Like, there was sort of a whole like nightclub thing trying to happen in the middle of that, like in the
Yeah, they
lobby.
had like pool tables outside
Right.
the
Yeah.
theater and all that jazz. It
Yeah.
was a nice theater though. It
It
was
was
cool.
really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And so I think it's important for us to then kind of look at if everybody did this, right? If everybody followed suit with AMC and they started doing this, what's the value of going to the movies,
Ooh. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, at what point do you go, I don't care? At what point do movie makers then look at it and go, well, what makes sense for us as a studio to put into a movie theater because we
Yeah.
think it'll actually do what we want financially? And what movies do we just say, screw it, we're going to sell it to the streaming service and they can have it?
Yeah. Well, and I
So,
think, yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think part of that issue then, and here's where it really ties into geek culture, is that right now, at least, the movies that will survive in the theater are your big blockbusters,
Yes.
right? So Avatar, people are going to go see Avatar clearly. People are going to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp in a couple of weeks, or next week. That's next week.
Is it next week?
It's next week.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. People are going to go see that, and then at some point, are those the only movies that we get in the theater? And as much as I love them, as much as we love those types of movies,
Yeah.
I want there to be a multitude of them in the theater. I don't want it to just be the big blockbuster type that you can go see in a theater.
Yeah, and I look at movies in the theaters now, and I really base it on is it worth seeing on the big screen,
Yeah.
or can I watch it on my TV?
Yeah.
Because TVs now are huge,
Big,
and you
and
can
yep,
get
the sound is
epic
good.
sound,
Right.
right? We've
Yep.
got the Hulk audio sound bar with the subwoofer that,
Yeah. Right.
it's probably more than we need for sound, but still, I mean, and that started a long time ago. Like my dad's got like Bose speakers all throughout his house, so that when you watch the movie, it's like being in a theater.
Yeah.
and TVs are enormous, and the
Right.
picture
Yep.
clarity is bonkers,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So what am I going to go see in a theater? Right. So I'm going to go see Avatar.
Right. Because the visuals are amazing. Because as big as my TV is and nice as it is, it's not wall sized.
Right. It's not wall size. And
And I
that,
want it
and
to
that,
be, I want to see Avatar on that wall sized theater with the whole experience. Because while I thought the movie was good and not great, it looked insanely amazing.
yeah, it was, and we talked about this, and just so everybody out there knows, like, we both agreed, like, it was an okay movie as far as like plot and everything else goes,
Yeah.
but visually, holy geez, like James Cameron and his team are geniuses on that side of things, right?
100%. Yeah.
Like, without question, they're geniuses on that side of things. But, so yeah, we're going to go see something like that, right? In the theater. It makes sense. I'm going to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania in the theater because
Right.
it looks like it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things we're going to go see in the movie theater. Top Gun, Maverick, I'm so glad I saw that in the movie theater.
Absolutely.
If I had missed
Yeah.
that in the movie theater, I would have kicked myself so hard.
Yeah.
But then let's look at like what else has come out, right? In the last however long, like horror movies,
Yeah.
like the movie Nope or those kinds of things,
Yeah.
A Quiet Place. I saw A Quiet Place in the movie theater. It was awesome to see that in the movie theater. The movie theater was packed, and to see
Wow.
like the
Okay.
audience reaction for that,
Yeah.
because everything was so quiet in the movie and people are eating and you can hear like stuff crinkling and you're looking
Uh-huh.
at it, you're like, don't do that, they're gonna die.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an add-on to the experience, right? But then you look at some of these other ones like Get Out or Nope, like those are cool psychological and really great movies.
Yeah.
But is it something that I'm gonna pay extra to go sit in the middle row to watch? No. I 100% wait for that to hit my screen. Some of these like Oscar nominated movies.
Right. Yeah. Like as much as I liked Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Really good. I missed it in the movie theater
Same.
and enjoyed it at home. And
Yeah.
maybe if I had to do over again, I would have tried harder to go see it in the theater, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But so it had some great visuals to it.
Yes.
The story drove that movie. The acting really
Right.
drove that
Absolutely.
movie,
Yeah.
right? And I think
Yeah.
that's the flip of Avatar. Like, to me, the
Yeah.
visuals like
For
drove
sure.
that movie. So Everything Everywhere All at Once, I agree with you. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was such a good movie. But I watched it on a plane.
Hmm.
And I was like, I should rewatch this on my TV just because it was such a small screen on the plane.
Yeah. Sure.
But I wasn't lamenting the fact that I didn't go see it in the movie theater.
Yeah. Or my daughter's 15. She regularly watches stuff on her phone. So she's
Yeah.
on a whatever that is. Is that a 6-inch screen?
They're not big.
No.
I just disappeared.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Um,
Like I I don't want to watch much of anything that way, but
it hurts my eyeballs.
yeah.
I'm old, man.
Yeah. Right. But and she'll go to the movies. She and her friends will go to the movies. Like they went, they'll see stuff together. Um in the theater, but I gotta think if you're most teenagers and they're like, oh, you got to pay extra to go in the theater, forget that. I'll just find a way to stream it on my phone.
Yeah, I think that if I'm looking back on things, right, in the history of the movies over the last however long, let's go back to, I don't know, 2013. So let's go back a decade,
Yeah.
right? And
How was 2013 10 years ago already?
I
That's
know,
insane.
right? But if we go back and we kind of look at that, and I don't remember the exact year the first Avengers movie came out.
Pretty sure it was 2012.
2012. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go back 11 years.
Yeah.
2012. What Avengers did for us was gave us something that we'd never had before in a theater,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is an ensemble, like coming together of multiple standalone movie characters into one, right, joined universe.
Yeah.
And that changed the game, right? That made it like, I expect when I go into a movie theater, epic stories, right?
Right.
Things that
Absolutely.
just I'm like thrilled by. And you know, you think about what Marvel has done in that regard, that will always be something I want to go see in the theater. Always, because of the special effects that are done, right? Knowing that those are all going to tie together in some amazing end of like the universe cataclysmic story that we'll see
Yeah.
at the end of like Kevin Feige's next phase. I'm always going to go see that. I'm going to go see the new DC movies because I'm curious if they can resurrect that. Although I feel like poor James Gunn has an uphill battle with all the Save the
Oh
Snyderverse.
my gosh. Yeah. Let it go, people. Come on.
Right? Let it go, guys.
We spent the previous 10 years talking about how,
Bad it was.
yes, or at least mediocre.
Yeah, mediocre compared to like Marvel. It was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then all of a sudden there's like people. Anyway, yeah, I think James Gunn is going to do some cool stuff, right? And so I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see what happens with that. And maybe it'll suck and maybe it won't. I don't know.
Right.
But going to see it, there's certain things I'll see in the movie theater. I am a big Fast and the Furious fan.
Okay.
I will go see the next Fast and the Furious movie in the movie theater. Um, because those have become like just this staple in my adult life. Going all the way back to the first one, I'm like, I love these movies.
Yeah.
And I'll go see that. Top Gun Maverick was a must see in the movie theater, right? Because it was a spectacle. We want,
It was. It was. And part of that communal experience that you get, that's a large piece of what draws us to a movie theater, I
yes,
think, is you get that communal experience. And at its best, like, man, you remember when we saw Avengers Endgame?
yes.
That full theater, even though we went like crazy people, we went at 4 in the morning.
Was it 4 in the
It was
morning that we
4 in
went?
the
I
morning. It
thought
was
it was
like,
like 2 in the morning,
no, it was like 4:26
and
or
it was
something. It
packed.
was packed. It was literally packed.
Totally worth getting up that early too.
Absolutely. I don't remember if we got snacks that day or not, but
I think so. I think I justified it as breakfast.
right, yeah. But that experience of all of us laughing together, all of us tearing up together, all of
Yeah.
us cheering together, like that communal experience is a vital piece of movie going, I
Yes.
think. So I'll always want that to be a part
But
of what we get. But at some point, you're going to price us out of that
yeah.
experience. And as the price goes up, like there's going to be fewer and fewer people. So then it kind of becomes a self-reinforcing thing. Like there are fewer people going, so there's much less chance of getting that communal experience. So I guess I'll stay home too.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, let's take it from like a geek culture standpoint, right?
Yeah.
At what point, now I think we're fortunate. We're older, we're more established into careers.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of disposable income.
Right.
So we don't have to make decisions between, do I buy this comic book or do I go see this movie?
Right. Right.
Right? I can do A plus B
Yeah.
unless Rachel catches me. Then I only get like A or B. Um, she's really good about letting me do A plus B.
Yeah.
But to that point, right? To your point, at what point does geek culture like kind of go, well, I have to make a choice between, do I pick up the comic books that I like? And let's be real, like most comic book enthusiasts, we don't buy a comic a month or even a comic a week. Like we have
Yeah.
multiple that
Right.
we subscribe to, we see that through Coffee and Capes. We see people who subscribe to multiple titles, they pre-order a
Right.
bunch of stuff,
For sure.
right? So they buy en masse. There are those weirdos that buy like a comic,
Right.
right? and you're only weirdos in the greatest sense of the term. We love you.
Absolutely. Yeah. In
Right?
the most enduring way possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're weirdos too.
Yeah, 100%. So, but at what point do those people, like, if they're going to make a decision between I'm going to pick up my stack of comics or I'm going to go see this movie because they jacked up the prices to go and see it so
Yes.
high that I have to make an A or B decision, I guarantee you they're going A. 90% of the time they're going to go A, because there's more nostalgic and intrinsic value in owning the comic book and the story and seeing that universe evolve on a weekly basis or a monthly basis than there is to go in and spend 2 hours like watching something on the screen that, if we're honest, like half of the community like watches so they can bitch about it.
Right. Yeah.
And they're also going to make the economic decision of, it costs me $14.99 to have Disney Plus a month. $14.99 to have Disney Plus a month. And if I'm just patient, all those things are coming to Disney Plus in a month and a half anyway.
Right. And I'm saying at least right now they're coming much, much quicker.
Yeah.
It used to be it was 6 months, 8 months, 9 months later, and now
so
it's
long.
yeah. And
So
now
long.
it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks. It's hardly any time at all.
Wakanda Forever's out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
It's out on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It was on the plane. I watched it on the plane. Fell asleep.
Yeah. That came out in the theater in November, I think.
Yeah, it had its run, and then shortly after, Black Adam is out on HBO Max.
Right.
Like, these things hit fast enough that like it's worth waiting, and you get all this extra content, right? Because you get Moon Knight shows, and you get this show, and you get that show, right? All the shows, like HBO Max that owns the DC rights, like you get Peacemaker, and so Star Wars. I mean, Disney owns everything.
For sure. Yeah, they really do.
And don't get me wrong, if they do more Star Wars movies, if they do more Star Trek movies, those I'm gonna probably cough up for, because it's worth it. But we used to go, I mean, you and I used to go, it felt like weekly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Before like the pandemic hit, before I moved to California, like it seemed like we went weekly.
It did
and
make
we
it harder to go to
all
the movie together, by the way.
Yeah, it did make it hard.
We did once though.
Yeah. And it was fun, and it was enjoyable and everything. And now it seems like, if it's something that we're like, okay, well, we should review this for the podcast, or, oh, we've been waiting on this one for a while, then we're going to go. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like some of those other things, you're like, like streaming really did a number during the pandemic on the motivation to go and see something in the theaters.
For sure. Yes.
It just made it so easy to be like, I'll just watch that at home. I really wanted to see the movie Nope, which was made by the same director that did Get Out, and
Jordan Peele. Right.
Yeah. Jordan Peele is phenomenal at those kinds of movies, and I enjoy his movies a lot. And I saw Get Out in the movie theater. Nope came out. I was like, I really want to see this. I was like, I'll wait. It'll show up on streaming. Like, it's not like that big of a spectacle. I'll just wait till it shows up on streaming. And the kicker on streaming is, if I really want to, like, here's the other thing. I can own the movie on a streaming service like Vudu for the same, if not less, than it would cost me to go and watch it in the theater. And then I just have forever access to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that comes into play too, right? That comes into play because they hit those streaming services so much faster. If the movie theater really, and that's, the movie makers have realized, like, they're not going to make as much. They can recoup the cost of making the movie and marketing the movie and everything else much faster if they do a big initial run in the movie theaters, let it peter out, and then 30, 60 days afterwards, throw it onto streaming services for all the people who didn't go to the movie theater.
Yes.
Right. And then they start to recoup it that way. And AMC's move, right? I don't think it's going to help them.
The only thing, as we're kind of talking this through, what occurs to me is I wonder if the the higher ups, whoever the muckety mucks that were making this decision, whatever in that meeting, they're like, okay, we're gonna get some bad press for this. Our reputation's gonna take a hit, but we're trusting that at some point the price is just the price and people are just gonna pay because they're used to going, they're used to paying, and they're gonna want to see it, and they want to see it in those. Everybody always tries to get the middle spots first, and I don't know how far. I haven't seen anything if they've said like how many of the quote of these like new premium level seats. Is it going to be like just the middle 6 seats of the middle row? I doubt it. It'll probably be
It's
3
going to be,
rows
if I'm
worth
looking at your background right there,
yeah,
those 3 upper tier rows.
yeah,
If I'm gonna guess, like you see 1, 2, 3, and then you've got the very back row. Those 3
yeah,
middle rows, all of it,
yeah,
all of it's gonna be priced higher
right,
than the front rows and the very, very back row. Right. And they're gonna and maybe they'll do like the middle section is the highest price, and then they'll tear it down a little bit towards the edges.
yeah,
But it'll still, all of them will still be higher than like the front cushy
row.
chairs.
Yeah,
That's gonna be my guess. And I've been fortunate enough in my career to do a lot of product launches and to be able to launch a number of things. And part of that process, as one of those like higher up muckety mucks that kind of makes those decisions and looks at all of that, I have never in my career looked at coming in higher than like others in the market. It has always been, at what price point is it a fair value to the consumer for the experience that they're going to be provided, and can we do it just as good, if not better, and benefit the consumer by coming in a little bit lower than everybody else? Like, and that's honest, right? Because
sure, yeah, that's a great approach. Doesn't seem like that's the dominant approach in most of corporate America.
No, because unfortunately in most of corporate America, right, the idea is, and this is kind of that unfortunate side of corporate America. So let's use gas as an example, right? The profitability of oil companies is through the roof. If you look at it, and not only oil companies, but so many other companies as well that raised their prices during the pandemic, not out of necessity.
Right.
They didn't need to, right? Maybe they needed to for a short period of time because the demand was so strenuous that to meet consumers, like to give consumers what they needed, like toilet paper or something like that, they raised prices because they had to shorten like production windows and do things faster. And when you shorten a production window for something in order to get it to the market faster, it comes with an additional cost.
Yeah.
Right. It eats into your margin. But the margins right now that these companies make are astronomical.
Yes.
They're asinine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're absolutely asinine. And consumers got so used to it during the pandemic that they're just like, I mean, okay, I'll pay $20 for eggs. I'll pay $10 for milk. I'll pay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of those industries are strained from a production side to the point where that's necessary. It is, in my opinion, as again, it's one of those higher up kind of muckety mucks that makes these kinds of decisions and sits in these rooms.
You're a lot of things, John. You're not a muckety muck.
Oh, it's okay. I'm a muckety muck. But and I'm fortunate enough to work, in my day job for a company that agrees with kind of this stance. Like, it is unethical, in my opinion, to milk the consumer for higher profitability margins that only benefit the top tier.
Mm.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not so like, and here's a little bit of, I guess, business 101 as it pertains to like who gets what. Most of your frontline workers in organizations, and again, I'm fortunate enough to work for a company that doesn't believe this. Like, we pay our frontline workers more than a living wage, because we value them and we want them to stick around and we want them to put food on their table. But most corporations, most companies, when you see those higher profit margins, they don't go to those frontline workers. Right. They're going to your higher end shareholders, your C-suite executives, your VPs, all of those folks. Like, they get those, they reap the benefits of that. When a company's profitability starts to dip, two things take place. The first thing they try to do is cut frontline workers totally. How many of these people can we get rid of? Not because it puts a strain on the operational ability of the company, but because it's dipping in to the big boys' pockets.
Yeah. Look at Disney right now. Disney owns the world. And they're just laying off, what, 7,000 people.
Yeah. And not because Disney's seeing decreased revenue streams to an extent that that's necessary. But, and I don't know this for sure, right? This is just hypothetical based on, you know, kind of how corporate America works. But because somebody at the top said, we're not returning as much and it's impacting my pay structure.
Right.
So how do we turn this around? Well, we get rid of some frontline employees. Okay, how many do we have to get rid of? We're going to get rid of 7,000. Okay, if we get rid of 7,000 frontline employees, what does that make our profit margin look like so that I can get my bonus? They may not say that second piece.
Sure, but
that's what's the motivating factor.
Right.
And then when profits, continue to dip, if they continue to fall below what they deem as an acceptable level, right? Then it's, okay, well, where do we increase pricing to be able to keep up this new profit margin that I love so much? Because I just bought a summer home in Hawaii and I'd like to pay it off this year.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, I get kind of up in arms and offended at that.
100%. Yeah.
Right. Because it's not, it's gouging the consumer. It's okay to be in the market and say, okay, hey, those 3 middle rows right there, we're going to actually find some work for some of our people that, sometimes we struggle to be able to make hours for, and we're going to turn those into order from your seat and have your food delivered to your seat. In order to help kind of pay for that, right, we're going to raise the pricing of those seats. And we're going to allow our employees to collect tips. We're going to put it in as part of the thing, right? To help them out. That's why we're going to do that. But just to say, you know what? Our profit margin isn't where we want because people aren't going back as much as we thought they would. So we're just going to raise the prices of these middle seats so that we can bump our profit margin.
It just feels icky. It feels awful. And
and as a result, I mean, I'm going to be real honest. Like, there are enough movie theaters around, Dave, that we can go somewhere else.
It's true.
And I 100% will go somewhere else. Right. And that may be, and it's tough because you start thinking about the people that work for AMC and the damage that it's going to do for them, because they're going to be the ones that go.
Sure.
Like,
100%.
the people that sell tickets and the people that sell popcorn, like, those are going to be the people that are negatively impacted by the backlash of this.
And they're already, at least the one by us, closest to us, is already trying to run on a skeleton crew.
Yeah.
Like, The lines for snacks are always super long. And there's always
Yeah.
like 2 people working that counter. It's never ever enough. Like, so they're already stretching those guys thin, and then you're gonna be like, oh well,
Yeah. So
put up with more angry people.
yeah, and that sucks. They're the ones that have to deal with it.
Yeah. And I think the moral here, there's not that there's just one, but geek culture has taught us, and just culture in general, but don't be greedy. Don't be greedy.
Yeah.
There's never been a good guy whose main attribute was greedy, or even a secondary attribute.
Right.
Name one hero who was like, well, she's super strong and she's greedy.
Homelander.
He's not a good guy. He's not a hero.
No, he's not.
He's
No,
not
he's
a
not.
hero.
Not a hero. But yeah, I mean, yeah. And so at the end of the day, like,
Make your money. It's fine. Be profitable. Be
yes,
profitable.
100%. And if you're
Don't be
not
greedy.
profitable right now, right, in your current system, how can you increase value to the consumer to get them to come back more often, right?
Yeah.
To improve your profitability,
Right.
right? What new amazing thing can you give them that provides you with a good margin to get those people to come back? That's just going to make them like want to come back. Like,
Right.
it's not 3D. It's not 3D, and how can you in the process provide the ability to employ more people, or what have you.
Yep.
um
Well,
so
we've been
yeah.
on this for nearly an hour. So here's a cheesy segue in 3, 2, 1. John, what are some ways in which our little company is trying to live those values that we've been saying?
Yeah, so it's funny, I was thinking about that as we were going. We when we looked at pricing for coffee, right, we wanted to stay in line with other folks, and we're a small company, right? So everything's
Yeah.
small batch roasted, everything is like sourced differently, and to do that, it's more costly than like a Starbucks that is a corporate machine and buys in such a high enough volume that they can sell coffee for $10. um but we can't do that, and we knew we couldn't do that.
Right.
And we could have come into the market at like some stupid price point, but we said, what other people that sell similar coffee to what we're going to sell, and we think we have better coffee, right?
We think that because we do.
Because we do, and we hear that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
people talk about the Trinity as like the greatest coffee they've ever had, and the Logan's Barrel Age is just this incredible experience. And so we priced ours to be in line with, or even like $1 or so lower,
Yeah.
right, than our competitors. And we're okay with that, right? We're not trying to get rich off of this. We're trying to like give customers value for what they're spending. And we'd love to be able to buy enough beans in volume to be able to offer it for like $9.99.
Sure. Yeah.
I would absolutely love
That
to
would
be
be
able to do
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think if at some point down the road in the future we're successful enough to do that,
We will.
100% we will.
Absolutely.
We will absolutely do that. And we've had our cost for coffee has gone up since we started a year ago. And we haven't raised our prices as a result. We were just like, yeah, okay, well, we'll take a little less.
Yeah.
And there's probably some point where you go, okay, we can't afford to take anything less.
Correct.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
We have had to change how shipping goes, and that's just because we looked at it and we were losing money in some cases. And as much as we'd love to keep it where it was at, we can't lose money and still provide the service that we would like to provide.
Correct.
When it comes to shop exclusives, we looked around like the market and said, what's everybody else sell shop exclusives for? Right. And what do we need to sell it at to be able to recoup our cost on that and do the next one?
Mm-hmm.
So we price in line with the market there. And we put stuff on sale probably a lot, but
Yes.
you know, and not all the time, and it varies and it goes between different stuff. But you know, our goal is to always be in line with what the fair market value of something is. And sometimes we go less than what fair market value is. Um, Fair market value on comics, just so everybody knows, that changes all the time. So if we're above fair market value on something, it's just because we haven't seen that it's dropped, right?
Sure.
And at some point, you know, we'll drop it. But that's our goal. Like we recently, so when AMC came out and did this, we took a look at our VIP program, and you know, it was we did an early bird special where it was $25 for gold and $50 for platinum, and you get all these benefits, right? You get
Yep.
permanent discounts throughout the year on stuff, and you know, like sales and specials that other folks don't get as that aren't VIP members. And after the early bird pricing, it went up to what we had intended, which was $50 for gold and $100 for platinum. And that's for the year.
Yeah.
Right. So you figure $50 in gold, that's not even $5 a month, and $100 for platinum wasn't even $10 a month. And then this came out with AMC, and I went, Dave, this isn't okay. We should, you know what? Like, let's drop ours back to 25 and 50 forever.
Yep.
Right. Let's over deliver on the value of what somebody's spending and make it accessible for everyone, like anybody and everybody. And you agreed with that decision. Absolutely. And so we permanently
it was a no-brainer, really, in that sense.
Yeah, it was super simple. We just said, okay, yeah, let's do this. We can afford to do that there. Let's do it. Yeah. And we did. And that's the result, right? And so we're always going to look at when and where we can do those kinds of things. Because we want to give everybody an opportunity to take part and to enjoy like what we have to offer. And that should be the goal, I think, of every organization.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, we think we've got a lot to offer, and it's good and it's fun and it's high quality, and it adds joy and enjoyment to your life.
At least we hope so.
Well, if you really dislike coffee and hate comic books, you're probably not paying too much attention.
Yeah, you're probably not listening to us either, so that's all right. Yeah. But to your point, now we've been going around on this for a little bit, so yeah, we should probably wrap it up. We've been on a soapbox for a grip.
We have, yeah. Well, we've got 6 weeks of pent up things to say here.
I haven't talked to the world in so long.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
I am very.
I guess the next time they'll hear from us would probably be after watching Ant-Man and Wasp.
I would think so. Yes. Yeah. So can't wait for that.
Yeah, because we are going to go to guys who like, this is important for us to do, and we love doing it.
Yes, 100%.
This is what we started with, was the podcast. So we talked about it. We're not going to be able to do every week. Luckily business is growing, and we try to get orders filled as fast as we can. It's literally Dave and I that fill orders and do all the things around the business for the most part. So we're, working hard to get those done, and we're going to move this to every other week.
Yeah.
Right. So we won't have an episode next week, but we'll have one the week after where we talk about Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's our new goal. We're going to go for every other week, and hopefully that's more sustainable. And instead of having,
that's what we're committing to. It's not a goal. It's our commitment.
All right. There you go. I like it. Yeah. We're committing to that. There you go. And hopefully that will help us not have like month-long gaps in between. But you never know, because life still happens, and
true, it does.
We'll get in the way. But that is our commitment. So thanks for being on the ride with us here, folks. Let us know what you think. What do you think? Are we completely overblowing this? Are we right on track, somewhere in between? What do you think about AMC, and what do you think about Avatar? Are you glad are you rooting for it to win Best Picture?
I'm not. I don't see how that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I will go see Avatar 3.
Yeah, and Avatar 7 or whatever when they.
But I might wear headphones and just listen to like music the whole time and just be like, wow, that is incredibly beautiful. I wonder what they're saying. I don't care.
Right. Wonder which part of Dances with Wolves they're copying now.
Oh,
Hey, look what I did there. You know who started Dances with Wolves, don't you?
Kevin Costner.
Oh, yay.
Yeah,
You did it better.
it can't win an Oscar because Kevin Costner wasn't in it.
That's
Right?
we don't make the rules here, folks.
It's
That's
really
just...
only it's. So here's how we know James Cameron is a Kevin Costner fan, because he took Dances with Wolves and blended it with Waterworld.
Yes.
On that note,
friends, and Kevin Costner, thanks for hanging out with us, true believers, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
bye, guys.
Bye.